Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Rift, focuses on Aang experiencing a resurgence in people celebrating Yangchen, the previous airbending avatar, and Toph with her school for metalbenders.
The city of Yu Dao, members of both the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation gather before the government building. Amongst the crowd, Aang looks at Uncle Iroh, smiling at the old man. Zuko was such a big part in making this happen. It's too bad he couldn't join us today, the Avatar tells the old man. Iroh nods, letting Aang know that Ursa and her family are visiting the Fire Nation capital, and Zuko wants to be there to support them. How did your tenure as Fire Lord go, Iroh? Katara asks. The old man laughs, telling the kids that he had a much better time than he thought he would. The National Tea Appreciation Day was a rousing success, but it only made me miss my little tea shop all the more, he tells them, letting them know that today's event is his last act as interim Fire Lord, and he would be returning to Ba Sing Se shortly afterwards. Finally, the crowd quiets as the doors to the building open, revealing a group of both Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom officials. Citizens of Yu Dao, the elections are in. Please welcome your city's new coalition government, Cory announces. The crowd begins to cheer and clap, and Toph stands next to Aang, wondering if the Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom people will get along enough to actually govern the city. They've got to. Yu Dao's the example. The remaining colonies are all trying to set up the same system, Aang tells her. Later, the crowd walks through the building, heading towards the celebration banquet. But Aang pauses, seeing someone dressed like an air nomad, waving to him from the other side of the crowd. He breaks away from his friends, trying to push his way through the surging crowd. Giving up, he launches himself into the air and he flies over the heads of the crowd, finally catching up to the mysterious acolyte outside. "Hey, are you an acolyte? I don't think we've ever met before," he yells. He finally catches up to the woman on the wall, and she pulls down her hood, and Aang is shocked that he recognizes her. "Avatar Yangchen?" he gasps. The woman stares at him, pointing out into the land and moving her mouth, yet no words come out. "I can't hear anything you're saying," Aang tells her, reaching out for his past self, but his hand just passes through her. No, don't go," he shouts, but the woman disappears. Inside, the banquet is underway, and Sokka is in heaven, his mouth watering as he takes in all the food. "Yi Li, you've gotta try the turtle duck," he says to his friend, throwing a little piece of meat into his mouth. But the girl smiles, telling him that they follow the air nomad tradition of vegetarianism. "Sorry to hear that, your mouth is missing out on a whole lot of happiness," he tells her, taking another bite. Katara sits across the table, asking how Toph's school has been going, and she explains that she has so many students now that they've been having to live in earth huts outside. "I want to expand the building, but we don't have the money," Toph explains, picking something out of her teeth. Sokka eats another bite, asking why she doesn't just charge tuition. "The Beifong Metal Bending Academy isn't that kind of school, and I don't want it to be a business. We're doing something new, you know, something important," she tells him. Katara suddenly sits up, realizing that no one has seen Aang in a while. She walks outside and finds Aang meditating on the balcony. "Aang, what are you doing?" she asks. Aang explains that he saw Avatar Yangchen and that he's been trying to contact her through his meditation beads, and he stares down at the beads in his hand. "I can't get through for some reason. Meditating just hasn't been going well lately," he tells her gloomily. Katara puts her hand on him, telling him that if he can't contact her right now, he should come inside and join the celebration. Aang sits up, smacking himself on the forehead. "That's it! Celebrations! Of course!" he shouts. They head inside and Aang finds his air acolytes. "Clear your schedules! For tomorrow, we're going on a field trip!" he tells them, bringing shouts of joy. Aang turns to the rest of his friends, letting them know that they're coming too. "Aw, I was hoping to visit the Yu Dao market tomorrow. I need a new bag," Sokka complains. The next day, the group is flying through the air on the back of Appa, with Aang telling them all that they are going to love the celebration. "Doubt it," Sokka moans. "Oh, cheer up, Sokka. I'll help you shop for a new purse when we get back," Katara tells her brother. Not a purse, a bag, a manly bag to carry my manly things, he shouts at her, and Toph smiles as she leans back. We'll be sure to find one that matches your manly belt, she tells him. Aang is ignoring his friends, explaining to his acolytes that today is one of the highest holidays of the air nomad calendar. Yangchen's festival. It hasn't been celebrated in over 100 years, he tells them. Aang explains that they are going to a cliff where there is a statue of a beautiful woman. We'll gather and bow 4 times as a sign of respect. Then we'll walk down the cliff to a secluded meadow, playing traditional air nomad music along the way, and when we get to the meadow, we'll eat a traditional air nomad meal, he tells them, before Toph interrupts. Let me guess, tofu, veggies, and not a lot of salt, she asks. Yep, Aang confirms. Afterwards, we can visit an island just off the coast, where Monk Gyatso used to take me and the other kids to fly kites. The wings there are perfect, he tells them, letting them know that he even packed an air nomad kite. The group lands and Aang leads them to the large statue of a beautiful woman. She's even more beautiful than I imagined, one of the acolytes points out. Sokka comes up, slightly confused. Huh, I thought it would be a statue of Yangchen, but that lady doesn't have an arrow on her forehead. Who is it? He asks his friend. Aang looks a little sheepish as he responds. To be honest, I'm not sure. The festivals are supposed to celebrate Yangchen's defeat of a powerful dark spirit. The Air Nomad Elder would tell the story every year, but I'd always miss it because I was flying kites with Monk Gyatso, Aang explains. Isn't it a little weird to be bowing to someone you're not sure who you're bowing to? Sokka asks. Well, that's just what you're supposed to do for the holiday. That's just how it's done, Aang tells them. Hearing these words, Toph remembers back to growing up with her parents. How any time she asked why she had to bow to a grave, dress up, sip politely from cups, or not play outside, her father always told her, that's just how it's done. All right, everybody, let's line up to do our bows, Aang tells the group, excited. But Toph refuses. No thanks. I just don't feel comfortable doing that kind of stuff, okay? Toph Beifong doesn't bow to anybody. Katara comes over, trying to explain that this is something important to Aang, but Toph holds her ground. So important, he doesn't remember who the giant stone lady is? If it hasn't been celebrated in over 100 years and the world didn't end, maybe it isn't important after all, she huffs. But Aang just laughs it off, taking his air acolytes, Sokka and Katara, and bowing to the giant statue. That was incredible, the air acolytes yell. Were you young ladies doing something different? All I did was bow, Sokka tells them, confused. With this done, Aang pulls out his air nomad flute and leads the group down to the meadow so they can have their celebration meal. The other air acolyte pulls out her cymbals, clanging away. Toph covers her ears, growing angrier and angrier, and the cymbals suddenly crumple in the girl's hands. If we have to do this, can't we do it quietly? Toph demands. Katara tries to calm her down, but Toph continues to yell about how she thought she was done with all this fuddy-duddy stuff. Aang doesn't turn around. Let's keep going, acolytes, we're almost there, he tells them. But one of the acolytes comes forward, asking Aang if the meadow is on the other side of the town. The group comes over the hill, discovering a mining town sitting where the meadow used to be. Smoke and fumes billow into the air as Aang looks on in shock. Oh no! This is where the meadow used to be, he whispers. They walk through the town with Aang looking around in disbelief. This was a sacred place, Aang tells Katara. 100 years have passed, sweetie. A lot can change, she tells him. Toph and Sokka suddenly get a whiff of meat and run off to find the source. And then Katara turns as someone shouts her name. Nyak? She asks, seeing an old friend from her village in the town. The two girls hug, with Katara asking her old friend, what is she doing here in the Earth Kingdom? We came to work at the refinery, her friend tells her, pointing to the large factory. We? Katara asks, turning to see her other friend Nutha at a nearby restaurant. But the girl just glares at Katara, calling her sister back. Turning away, Katara returns to Aang, who is still looking around the town in sadness. He turns, seeing Avatar Yangchen once more, walking towards the refinery. He motions to his friends, telling them to follow him. As they go to the other side of the refinery, they discover a fence, and everyone covers their noses as the stench coming off the river is even worse than rot. Aang creates several platforms for his friends, telling the others that they are going to check out the river. But doesn't the fence mean we're not supposed to be here? One of the acolytes asks. No, the fence is not supposed to be here, Aang tells her before launching them into the air and over the fence. The stench on the other side of the fence, however, is even worse than before. Aang looks down in shock at the river as sludge runs through it and fumes escape into the air. This must be what Avatar Yangchen was trying to tell me. It wasn't just about the festival. This land was once sacred to the air nomads. It's now being defiled, Aang states. Suddenly, 3 guards come rushing towards them, telling them that they can't be behind the fence. Aang smiles at them. Sir, I need to talk to whoever is in charge of this refinery, he tells the soldier. The guard asks who Aang thinks he is. I'm the Avatar, Aang tells him simply. But the man leans forward, getting very close. Once you cross that fence, all you are is a trespasser, he growls. He turns to the other guards, ordering them to get the others. The guards launch an earthbending attack, with Katara and Aang blocking the dirt to defend the air acolytes. As Aang checks on the acolytes, Katara prepares another attack. Move out of the way, Aang! I've got them, she tells her boyfriend. But Aang holds up his hand. No, not yet, he tells her. Turning back to the acolytes, he explains that peace is the center of the air nomad life. The guards rush in as Aang turns back to face them. We don't engage conflict unless absolutely necessary, and even then, things will often work themselves out, he tells them, leaping into the air over the guard's head and using an air swirl to bonk their heads together. The air acolytes cheer for their teacher, but Aang and Katara turn as the sound of clapping interrupts them. Flying fire ferrets! That was amazing! A man shouts as he walks over, introducing himself as Satoru. He begins to shake Aang and Katara's hand, telling them that it's an honor to meet them both, that he has read so much about Aang and his exploits. That's really nice of you to say, but listen, are you in charge around here? Aang asks, slightly embarrassed. Satoru explains that he is head engineer, but his uncle put him in charge of the operation while he is away. He turns, looking at the slightly bruised guards. Which is why the guards should have checked with me before they attacked you like that, he says, not happy. Aang nods, beginning to ask Satoru if they can sit down and talk about the location their refinery is on. But Satoru has stopped listening, his eyes going wide in disbelief. No way! This is the best day of my life! He gasps. Aang gets embarrassed, thinking the man is talking about him, but Satoru isn't even looking at him anymore. Toph! Beifong! Is it really you? He shouts. Toph turns as she takes another bite of her meat stick. Yeah, she says simply. Satoru begins to gush over Toph, rambling about how she saved the world and discovered a new type of bending that even the Avatar can't do. Ha! That's right, he can't. Toph laughs. Satoru bows, telling the young woman that it would be an honor if he could give her a tour of the refinery. Sure, Satoru, lead the way, she tells him, asking if her friends can come. You said my name, he gasps. Sokka leans into the group with his own kebab. This meat is so good. Anyone want a bite? He asks. Katara smiles, telling him that she'll try. By anyone, I meant any vegetarians, he says, ignoring her. Satoru begins to lead them through the refinery, explaining that his uncle discovered this area was rich in natural resources. But due to political reasons, he was unable to develop here. My uncle isn't a very political guy, but he is Fire Nation, and this land is Earth Kingdom, Satoru explains, really speaking only to Toph. Actually, Satoru, that's what I've been meaning to talk to you about. This land may be part of the Earth Kingdom, but historically, the air nomads have always... he begins. But Satoru isn't paying attention, instead continuing to explain everything to Toph. He tells her that after the war ended, his uncle was able to find an Earth Kingdom partner and open the refinery within a couple of months. "We're the first joint business venture between the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation," he tells her proudly. Pushing open a large door into the factory, Satoru shows them the assembly line. Benders of different elements work along the line, refining the glowing green crystals from the earth. "Wow!" Jingbo, the air acolyte, states. "You said it, Jingbo," Sokka tells him, also impressed. But Satoru leads them into the next room, showing them their new assembly line. Though it does the same job, this line is run by machines. "Okay, my mind is officially blown," Sokka gasps, looking at all the machines refining the gems. "Why would you want to replace bending with machines?" Aang asks, perplexed. Satoru explains that not everyone is a bender, and it can take years to train a bender before they're even ready. But we can train an employee to use one of these machines in a matter of days, he tells them. "Bending just seems so much more elegant," Katara says simply. Satoru admits that this might be true since the machines run an assembly line that isn't as efficient. "What is that?" Sokka shouts, distracted as a worker drives up on a forklift. Sokka walks over, asking if he can give the forklift a spin, as Satoru continues to tell the group about the refinery. "I'm impressed. This whole place ticks and hums like the inside of a clock," Toph tells Satoru as Sokka speeds behind them on the forklift. Suddenly, he speeds by again and the machine breaks down, skidding to a stop. "Sorry about that," Sokka says, getting off the machine and looking kind of upset. "No, it's okay, I'm still tinkering with the design," Satoru tells him, popping the hood to look at the engine. He sighs, turning to tell Toph that he's going to have to stop the tour to fix the machine. "Step aside," she says with a smile, stepping up to the vehicle. She is shocked, though, as she senses the parts of the engine. "Satoru, this engine, I can feel it. Every part is precisely crafted, even the parts that nobody will see," she says, metal bending the broken piece back into place. Fixed, the engine roars back to life. "That was amazing," Satoru tells her. "No sweat. Even my most novice metal bending students could do that," she tells him. Suddenly, Satoru is even more excited as he comes up with a brilliant idea. "What if you and your students came here every now and then, to help out with the machines?" he asks. He smiles at her, telling her that they would pay them for their time. "No, they're students, not employees. But you could sponsor a new school building for us," she says. Satoru nods, believing that his uncle would be up for their partnership between the school and the refinery. "Satoru, I would love to be in a partnership with you. I mean the refinery," she tells him with a shy smile. "Toph's softer side gives me the oogies," Sokka whispers to his sister. During all of this, though, Aang is looking around. Off to one side, he sees the image of Avatar Yangchen once more. She waves to him, and Aang sees a vision of a giant spirit destroying a city. "Yangchen, what are you showing me? Is that what's already happened, or is it going to happen?" he asks. But the vision and the spirit of the Avatar disappears before he is even given an answer. The air acolytes surround him, asking if there's anything they can do to help. "I'm okay, I just need to get him to listen to me," Aang tells them, walking back over to Satoru. Aang walks back over to the group, once more trying to explain to Satoru that there shouldn't be a refinery in this spot, that this place is sacred to the air nomad people. "You aren't supposed to build on sacred lands," he tells them. Before Satoru can respond, Toph speaks up. "No offense, Twinkle Toes, but what is that, a rule from the olden days? No one's been here for over 100 years. If Satoru and his uncle can figure out a way to make this place useful, I say good for them," she tells her friend. But Aang tries to explain that Yangchen's been trying to show him that something bad is going to happen. "Like what?" Toph asks. "I'm not sure. I can't hear her for some reason. The vision wasn't clear," he tells her, concerned. But Toph waves it off. "Here we go again. More stuff that's so important you don't even know the details," she says. Aang hangs his head, telling her that bad stuff is already happening. Katara interrupts, agreeing with Aang, and pointing out that a river shouldn't look or smell like the one behind the refinery. I know what you're talking about, Katara, but I can tell you for a fact that's not the refinery's fault, Satoru tells them. The man explains that his uncle believes it is a natural phenomenon. Are you kidding me? Aang asks, getting angry. I'm with Aang. Nature might be gross, but it's never that kind of gross, Sokka adds in, helping his friend. Finally, Toph steps up, telling everybody to back off. She puts her hand on Satoru's shoulder, telling him to repeat what he just said. Satoru repeats his words as Toph listens intently. What's she doing? The air acolytes ask. Toph can use her earthbending and seismic sense to figure out if someone is lying, Katara quietly explains. Toph turns back to Aang, telling him that Satoru is telling the truth. Finally, Aang grabs his friend by the arm, pulling her away from the group and asking if they can talk. Aang quietly explains to Toph that he knows what it's like to have a crush on someone and how it can cloud your perception, but Toph waves him off, turning back to the refinery and its workers. Look around, Aang. People from all over the world are here, working side by side. Isn't that exactly what you've been wanting for Yu Dao? Satoru's right. This place is the future. Do you really want to sacrifice the future for some stupid backwards holiday? She asks. The two begin to get angry with one another, yet suddenly they are interrupted as the ground begins to shake at their feet. The refinery begins to shake too, with everyone grabbing cover. Sokka and Katara come running over, yelling for both Aang and Toph to keep calm. Wait, you think we caused the earthquake? Toph asks. Satoru nods, explaining that none of their workers are strong enough for that, but Toph gets angry, explaining that she's not some novice. But the ground begins to shake again though, causing everyone to stumble, and a cart of gems tips over, spilling across the ground. Satoru looks around at the destruction, politely asking Aang and Toph to leave before they cause more chaos. How many times do I have to tell you people? Those earthquakes are not because of me! Toph shouts at everyone. Suddenly, shouts come from within the refinery as people begin to cry for help. The group rushes inside, looking as one of the machines begins to spew rocks all over the factory floor. One of the machines has gone crazy! Sokka yells. The friends begin to direct the workers out of the room as Toph and Aang rush forward to help someone trapped beneath the destroyed machines. I'll get him, Toph! Aang yells, moving forward. Toph rushes for the machine as Satoru yells for her to unplug the power cord. Aang pulls the man to safety as Toph launches herself across the room, and she slams her fist into the machine, destroying it. That was dramatic, Aang tells her with a smile. You know me, she says, dusting off her hands. The two friends apologize for the argument earlier, trying to get on good terms again. As they walk out of the factory, they are both confronted by a Fire Nation mercenary. Avatar Aang, still showing up where you are not wanted, I see. Colonel Monkey laughs. Aang prepares for a fight, demanding to know what the rough Rhinos are here for. But the colonel waves him off, explaining that they have been hired as personal security for the refinery.
What's all the ruckus? Who are these people?
Satoru's uncle Luen asks, walking out to find the destruction. Satoru steps up, explaining that they are his guests, and he can explain everything.
Satoru, you can start by explaining what happened to the machine that cost us 10,000 bon,
Luen shouts, gesturing towards the destroyed machine. You couldn't just unplug it? Satoru questions, looking at Toph. She shrugs. Luen begins to shout at his partner.
What did I tell you, Lao? Satoru is too scatterbrained to shoulder any real responsibility, he shouts.
But his partner isn't responding, merely staring at the group.
Lao? You look like you've seen a ghost,
Luen asks. Lao steps forward, standing before Toph. Father, she says. Toph stands before her father, the rest of the group stunned. Bossman Lao? You told me you didn't have a family, Satoru says, coming up from behind his boss. In an instant, Lao's face hardens. That is correct. This girl is not my daughter, he says simply, turning away from Toph. Her friends try to defend her, while Satoru asks her the truth, but his uncle begins to yell at him, telling him to mind his own business since he's already caused enough trouble for the day. He yells for his son to get the benders back inside, or they're all out of work, and Satoru runs off to do his uncle's bidding. "Father," Toph says simply, her face following her father as he walks away. Balau turns back. "Guards, escort this confused young lady and her friends out of here," he tells the rough rhinos. The colonel walks over, asking Aang if he wants to do this the easy way or the hard way. But both Aang and Toph drop into combat stances. "Avatar Aang, aren't we leaving? The man in charge said we have to go and not to come back," the air acolytes ask. Aang shakes his head. "No, we're not leaving until I talk to someone about the refinery," he tells them. "We're not leaving until I talk to my dad," Toph adds. "I didn't realize that being an air acolyte meant I had to break so many rules," the air acolytes whisper. The colonel smiles, the rest of the rhinos at his back. "Okay, the hard way it is," he says as fire appears in his hands. Aang nods, telling the others that they need to get the guards out of the building and away from the workers. "That's a whole lot of big burly men. You guys sure you want to do this?" Sokka asks, pulling out his boomerang. The colonel attacks, sending a blast of fire at them. Despite their early arguments, Toph and Aang quickly begin to work together. Toph creates a slide of earth beneath the rhinos' feet, and Aang sweeps them away with a blast of air. As the team begins spreading out for the fight, Aang turns back to his young air acolytes, telling them to get to safety. While he's distracted, one of the rhinos rushes him, taking a massive swing with his staff. But Aang easily avoids it, backflipping over the attack. "I don't think we've met. Are you new to the rough rhinos?" Aang politely asks as he continues to dodge attack after attack. The man grunts, telling Aang that he once was a guard for Ozai, but then you had to ruin everything, he shouts, slamming his staff down for another attack. But he brings it back encrusted with dirt. "So what's your name?" Aang asks, still being polite. "Utor," the man grunts. "Nice to meet you, Utor. A little advice? Find some other group to join. The rough rhinos are bad news," Aang tells him. One of the rhinos takes a swipe at Toph with his sickle. "Hey, watch it with that thing," she shouts, stomping her foot and launching the man into the air. Aang launches himself over, catching the man before he can get hurt. "You've got to be more careful, Toph," Aang tells his friend angrily. The soldier thanks him before he takes a swing at him with a knife. "Oh, pipe down for a minute. I have to talk to my friend," Aang hisses, stomping his feet and letting the rhino sink into the earth. Aang walks over to Toph, explaining that they only do enough to stop those they fight, not try to hurt them. But Toph scoffs, reminding Aang that he just tried to cut her in half with one of his knife thingies. "He would have just landed in some bush somewhere," she tells him. Aang tells her that while it was probably upsetting to see her father like that, they can still fight these guys with an inner calm. "Ugh, will you stop talking to me like that? I'm not one of your acolyte kids, all right?" She snaps at him as she turns and launches herself away. "I'll fight the way I want," she says. Meanwhile, Sokka leaps at the colonel, his club swinging hard. The metal slams into the colonel's chest and does nothing. "Ha! Was that supposed to hurt? I've used chopsticks thicker than your arms, boy. You really think you can beat me?" he laughs. "Nope," Sokka yells, turning and running away. And the colonel stares in shock. "Hey, come back here and fight!" he yells. "No thanks," Sokka shouts over his shoulder as he runs past Katara, who is holding off two of the rhinos herself. But Sokka grabs her by the arm, forcing her to run with him. "I had those guys," she shouts at him. "Will you please just follow me? I've got an idea," he tells her. The colonel pulls up next to his men, riding his rhino. "Saddle up, boys. It's hunting season," he tells them. Sokka and Katara keep running, with the girl turning to her brother. "Brilliant idea, Sokka. First we'll let them onto their Komodo rhinos, and then we'll let them chase us to a dead end," she snaps. But Sokka tells her to shut up and orders her to jump, and they leap out of the way, letting the Komodo rhino break through the gate. Sokka nods. "Hey sis, what's that over there?" he asks. "A river," Katara smiles. Meanwhile, Yi Li and Xing Ying are backing away from another rough rhino when they hear Jingbo shout from behind them. "Make way, acolyte sisters, make way!" he shouts, steering the forklift towards the large man. The rhino runs off, and Xingying tells Jingbo to stop. "What were you planning to do?" she asks. "Smush him with the forklift," he tells her simply. And the two girls tell Jingbo that he can't do that as an heir acolyte. "But I thought we were supposed to break the rules," the boy said, sadly. But suddenly a chain whip lashes out and wraps the girls up, and the rhino lifts Jingbo up, laughing at him.
"Let this be a lesson to you, kiddos. Never have a conversation when you're in the middle of a fight," he tells them.
But suddenly, the chain whip begins to move, snaking out and wrapping around the rhino. "What? Haven't you heard? I invented metal bending," Toph tells him simply. She yells at the girls, telling them that they should have just let Jingbo run over the rough rhino with a forklift. But they try to explain that they are following the air nomad teachings. Those precepts were created a long time ago when the world was completely different, by people who aren't around anymore. You guys have to stop worshiping the past and start worrying about the right now. Otherwise, you aren't gonna have a right now to worry about, she shouts at them. Aang comes over, asking why the air acolytes didn't leave when he told them to. Xingying steps up, telling the Avatar that they came here to learn of the air nomad tradition, and they're not going to leave until they properly celebrate the Yangchen festival. With these words, everyone apparently forgets about the fight they are having, and Aang leads the air acolytes away, telling them that even though the meadow isn't here, they can make do. "Toph, you're welcome to join us," he tells her, turning back to his friend. But she launches herself away, telling them that she'd rather do anything else. Inside, Satoru is trying to get his benders back on their schedule, pushing them extra hard since the other assembly line is down. Suddenly, the wall explodes inwards, revealing Toph standing there. Satoru and the other benders stop, staring at the young woman. "I'm here to talk to my dad," she tells him. There's a pause. "That way," he says, pointing her in the right direction. Aang leads the air acolytes through the refinery town, telling them that he used to always eat his meal with Monk Gyatso under a giant leafy tree. If I remember right, the tree was right about here, he finishes sadly, staring at the large stump that used to be the tree. Xingying tries to apologize to him, but Aang says it's okay. He looks up, seeing a restaurant nearby. Maybe we can celebrate in the same spot, even if the spot's now indoors. As Aang moves inside, Yi Li points out that the menu is a little strange. "Cabbage soup? Cabbage noodles? Cabbage cookies?" she reads. "Yuck! Who would want to eat a cabbage cookie?" Jingbo asks. Inside, the cabbage man is startled when Aang comes in. He turns around, seeing the young man, and is shocked. "It's you! Bad things always happen to my cabbages when you're around," he yells, and Aang seems confused. "Really? Are you sure you don't have me confused with someone else?" he asks. Aang asks if they could eat a meal, and the man looks around. "I suppose so, but you must keep all bad things far, far away from my cabbages," he tells them. Aang smiles, telling the man that he'll do his best, and then asks if they can eat their own food. But the man shakes his head, telling them that they'll have to order something. "That's fair. Give us your house special," Aang tells him. And the man rushes back into the kitchen, all excited. "A plate of cabbage cookies coming right up," he yells. Quickly, Aang and the air acolytes work to set up the meal for the celebration. The cabbage man comes back, bringing them a plate of cookies. Not bad. Tastes kind of like a sugar cookie, but more cabbagey, Jingbo notes, taking a bite. Meanwhile, Toph has found her father's office. She opens the door, and her father sits at his desk, staring at her silently. Outside, Katara has frozen the other members of the Rough Rhinos. "So, you're Ye Lu, the Rough Rhinos explosive expert?" Sokka notes, standing in front of the man who is still holding a stick of dynamite, with the fuse lit. "Yes," Ye Lu says simply. "And you were planning on throwing this bomb at me and my sister?" "Yes." "But my sister froze you?" "Yes." "And now you probably want me to get rid of the bomb before it blows half your arm." "Yes," Ye Lu says, more urgent as the fuse burns shorter and shorter. Even though you were trying to kill us just 10 minutes ago? Sokka asks. Yelu hesitates. Yes? Fine, Sokka says, pulling the bomb out of Yelu's grasp. He tries to put it out with his fingers, but the fire burns him. He blows and he blows, becoming more frantic as the fuse burns shorter and shorter. Finally, he simply throws the bomb right as it's about to explode. The bomb explodes, taking a large chunk of the wall with it, and Sokka turns back to the frozen rhino. I can't believe that's what you were trying to do to my head, he shouts angrily. But Katara calls him over, pointing out that they found a secret passageway near the river. They begin to climb down, knowing that they need to check it out. Up on the hill, the colonel and his men are still frozen. I can't feel my arms, the colonel shivers. I told you to incorporate more armor into your uniform. I'm actually quite toasty, Yelu tells him. In the restaurant, Aang holds out his hands to the meal they are about to eat. Today isn't going the way I imagined, but happy Yangchen's festival anyway, acolytes, he tells them, and he takes their hands, offering to say a prayer before they begin to eat. Everyone closes their eyes as Aang begins to speak. We are grateful for this delicious food and the friends with whom we share it. We are grateful for happiness, compassion, and peace. We are grateful for our hope for the future, he says, the tattoos on his head glowing, and our guidance from the past. Avatar Yangchen finishes for Aang, sitting across from him in the spirit world. Aang is shocked that he can finally hear the past avatar's words. She explains that the avatars are linked like a chain. After he had severed the link with Avatar Roku, he injured his link to the avatars that preceded him. Aang is surprised, asking how they are able to connect now. This meal that we share serves as a temporary conduit. Traditions like Yangchen's festival can allow you to access the guidance of the past, she explains to him. In the physical world, the cabbage man is leaning over his counter. What's happening? He asks, fear in his voice. The acolytes explain that Aang is in the spirit world and seems to be talking to someone. Something bad's about to happen to my cabbages, isn't it? The man asks, cradling his vegetables. In Lao's office, the man pushes a picture of his family under some papers on his desk. He looks up at Toph, once again explaining that she is not his daughter. Let it go already. Nobody's here but you and me, and we both know you're lying, she tells him. Walking across the room, anger suddenly fills Lao's voice as he stands. You presume to tell me what I know? He snaps. He tells her that he spent countless hours of his life trying to raise a proper young woman, that he did everything he could to protect her from the outside world. Now clearly this rude, ungrateful thing in front of me is not my daughter, he snaps at her. I know I've put you through a lot, but you've got no right to talk to me like that, she tells him. For a moment, it looks like Lao doubts himself, but the anger is quickly back. Show me I'm mistaken, then. Greet me properly, as a child ought to greet a parent, in a manner befitting someone of our class, he tells her. Below ground, Katara and Sokka have discovered a vast underground mine beneath the refinery. Sokka motions Katara over, showing her a large smokestack that is causing the pollution in the water. More rough rhinos come up behind them, ordering the kids that they need to leave. Sokka turns, pulling out his club. I've got them, he tells his sister, and Sokka dodges an attack, swinging his club like a sword and smacking the rhino in the chest. He dodges as the other launches a volley of arrows, and they stick into a support beam, splitting it and causing the whole chamber to rumble. Katara yells for her brother to stop, that this whole chamber is the source of the earthquakes and could come down at any moment. You've got to stop fighting. You're making things worse, Katara yells. Sokka rushes past her, dodging more arrows. Tell it to that guy, he shouts. She bends some water, freezing the rhino's bow arm. It isn't safe down here. We've got to get the workers out, Katara tells her brother once he has joined her again. Sokka nods, getting up onto one of the mine carts. Attention everybody! This mine could collapse at any moment! We need to get everyone out of here in an orderly fashion, he yells. But none of the workers move. They glance up at the young teen, but almost immediately go back to their work. Sokka keeps talking, but finally, someone steps out of the crowd. We aren't all as lucky as you and your sister, Sokka, Nutha says, stepping forward with her sister close by. Sokka smiles as he recognizes his sister's old friends, but Nutha keeps talking. Not everybody gets to buddy up with the Avatar and leave home. I'm sure you're not aware, since you haven't been back. The Southern Water Tribe hasn't been doing that well since the war ended. We're lucky to have found work here, Nutha says, angry at Katara. This job is all we have, Katara. Without it, we don't eat. So unless the boss man orders us to leave, we have to stay, Niuk tells her friend. Sokka pauses for a minute before running off, yelling to Katara that he is going to find the boss man. Back in the spirit world, Aang continues his conversation with Avatar Yangchen. He explains to her that he had to cut his tie with Roku because the Avatar wanted him to do something that he couldn't. The world is so different now from when he was alive. His advice didn't fit anymore, he tells her. Yangchen nods, agreeing that Roku wanted Aang to hold too tightly to the past. You know, maybe Toph had a point, Aang says, hanging his head. Yangchen explains that Aang's past lives aren't meant to bind him, only to guide him in his life. If you separate yourself from those who came before, you will inevitably make the same mistakes, she tells him. She looks at Aang, telling him that she has made mistakes herself, mistakes that he must not repeat. And with these words, she begins a story. Many centuries ago, lightning crashed in the sky above as a rainstorm beat down on a great city that once sat in the same spot as the refinery. The king had sent for Yangchen's help, and the young Avatar was eager to make a difference in the world, despite what her teacher wished. She arrived at the palace, where the king explained that their fortune tellers predicted that a great tragedy would befall the city that very night. "What are they talking about, Your Majesty?" Yangchen asked after hearing the three old crones' predictions. "I'm not sure," he tells her. So Yangchen went back out into the storm, sitting on a cliff just outside the city, the rain lashing down on her as she meditated. It was just past midnight when a great spirit emerged from the depths of the ocean. "Don't worry, nothing I can't handle," she told her master. But she was lying. She could feel the grief, and it overwhelmed her. Tears sprang into her eyes, quickly washed away by the rain. She confronted him, riding up on an air scooter. She asked the Great Spirit what his grievances were, but the spirit didn't speak to her, lashing out instead. She fell to the ground, Master Boma coming over to help her. As they looked on, the spirit began to attack the city. "Master Boma, what do I do?" she asked. "I'll evacuate the city as quickly as I can. You pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you go get him," Boma tells her. In Lao's office, Toph continues to stand in front of her father. She doesn't know how he can be so blind, that his daughter was never the perfect, polite girl that they wanted, that it was always an act to get them to leave her alone. That girl never existed. Your real daughter might not be prim and proper, but she's become the greatest earthbender of all time. She trained the Avatar. She helped end the 100-year war. And now she is standing in front of you. Don't you have anything to say about that?" she says to him. But Lao simply turns away, not saying a word. And as Toph turns to go, she wipes the mist from her eyes. "Coming back to talk to you was a mistake. Don't worry, I won't bother you ever again," she tells him. But she stops as the door slams open, revealing Sokka. He stomps forward, demanding that Lao orders the workers to leave the mine. "It's too dangerous." "I assure you, our crystal mine is completely safe. We inspect it daily," Lao tells him angrily. "Not the crystal mine, the iron mine beneath the town," Sokka explains. But Lao doesn't believe him, telling him that they don't have an iron mine, just the crystal mine. "Follow me," Sokka tells him, leading them out of the room. Back with Aang and Yangchen, Yangchen continues her story. Master Boma had evacuated the city while she fought against the Great Spirit. They fought through the night, with the city destroyed as neither could gain the upper hand against each other. It was finally as the dawn broke over the horizon that Yangchen finally demanded that the spirit tell her what he wanted. He rose up his earthen armor falling away as he touched Yangchen on the forehead.
I am called General Old Iron, he tells her.
He explains that long ago, when the spirits wandered the earth, he lived in this land with his friend, Lady Tienhai. She was the most beautiful spirit and filled the world around her with beauty. Old Iron served as her protector. When the humans arrived, Old Iron tried to stomp them out, but Lady Tienhai took pity on them and loved them, and so Old Iron left. Over time, the tribe of humans grew into a great city. Old Iron then explains that a few nights ago, he felt the death of his friend, and that he knows that it was the humans who killed her. That her death shows what the world will become because of the humans. Yangchen returned to the king, telling him what Old Iron said. It is true. I caused her death. The fault was mine alone, the king says. He steps forward, begging the spirit that he not punish the city for the king's actions. In the present, Lao is shocked to find the iron mine beneath the town. He explains that it shouldn't exist, that he and Lobon decided the area was too dangerous to put a mine in.
I made no such agreement, Lao. Because of your cowardice, I had to pursue this particular opportunity in secret on my own, Lobon says, entering the mine. He explains that this mine is the richest deposit of iron in the area, and Lao just wanted to leave it? Listen, you dunderhead, you need to stop thinking about money and start thinking about people's lives, Toph snaps at the man. Satoru steps forward, explaining to Toph that she is wrong about his uncle, that he would never endanger people, but she shakes her head. You gotta trust me on this one, Satoru. I can feel the earth and ore shifting all around us, she tells him. Lao nods his head, ordering the miners to leave immediately. But Lobon shakes his head, telling the workers that if they value their jobs, they will get back to work. Sokka turns, finding the two rhinos have returned. One stabs out with his spear, but Sokka dodges. The weapon lodges into another of the support beams, destroying it. And the whole chamber begins to shake around them. In the spirit world, Yangchen looks at Aang, explaining that she was very young when she found Old Iron. The Avatar could still be elusive, but when I saw General Old Iron attacking the people, the Avatar state welled up within me, she says. Old Iron tries to lash out, but Yangchen blocks him with the Tower of Earth. She floats into the air, wind swirling all around her. They continue to fight, with Yangchen easily turning aside the Great Spirit's attacks. Remember, General Old Iron, I am the Avatar. I stand on the border of the spirit and human worlds. To ensure that border never shifts into a rift, peace is possible. Balance is possible. Lay down your armor and listen to me, she tells the Great Spirit. The earth crumbles from the Great Spirit, and the two finally talk. They come to an agreement that as long as it was honored, General Old Iron would never again attack the people. And so I established a ritual among my people, she tells Aang. A realization dawns on Aang as he figures out what the Yangchen's festival is supposed to celebrate. As Yangchen is about to explain the agreement between her and General Old Iron, everything begins to shake all around them. Aang comes out of the spirit world to find the restaurant shaking around them. Another earthquake! He shouts as the air acolytes look around in fear. No, no, no! The cabbage man yells as his cabbages are spilling onto the ground. As the shaking stops, Aang orders the acolytes to their feet, telling them that the people will need their help in the village. They run through the town, finding the others coming out of the mines, and Aang tells the acolytes to help the wounded. Sokka, my sisters are still down there, Niuk tells Sokka. He nods, telling her that so is Katara, and he'll figure something out while the air acolytes take care of her broken arm. Aang is confused, but Sokka quickly explains everything they discovered about the mine, telling him that it's directly beneath them. Aang uses his bending to start digging down towards the mine, but he suddenly hears a voice. Aang, stop! Katara yells from beneath them. We're all alive down here thanks to Toph! Aang nods, telling her to get everyone clear so that he can bend a tunnel to save them. But Katara tells him not to, that if he bends the wrong way, the whole mine could collapse.
There isn't just earth between you and me. This place is full of iron ore. Right now, Toph's metal bending is all that's keeping us from being crushed, she shouts. The group huddles together as Toph strains to keep them safe, sweat beginning to drip from her face with the exertion. Heed my words, students of Beifong Metal Bending Academy. She clings to your very being like a heavy, suffocating cloak. Take a hold of its dark folds and keep guard against the impish breath of distraction. The Dark One shouts as he and the others lead the newest group of students at the academy. But Hotun steps forward, reminding the students that they should feel it in their gut. But the whole class is interrupted as Sokka comes rushing in, telling the Dark One, Penga, and Hotun that Toph needs their help. Quickly, they all rush outside, boarding Appa, who leaps into the sky. At the refinery, Aang continues to look into the smug, clouded skies. He leans down, speaking into the earth. Katara? He says quietly. Is Sokka back yet? She answers, her voice softened by the dirt between them. No, I just wanted to hear your voice. How's Toph holding up? He asks. As good as you could expect, considering she is literally carrying the weight of the world right now. Toph braces herself, her bending holding the earth above them, keeping them all alive. Sweat drips down her face from the strain as the metal creaks and shifts around them. Katara hands her water skin to Satoru, telling the young man to bring it to Toph. If Toph fails, me running out of water won't matter much, she tells him. He walks over, telling the young woman not to speak, and offers her the water. Once she has drunk the last of the water, Toph asks Satoru to stay. Talk with me, she asks him. He looks at her, shocked, asking if that would make it harder for her to concentrate. What? This is nothing. Barely breaking a sweat, she smiles at him. Satoru sits with her, telling her his story and why he follows his uncle so closely. Both of his parents used to work for Ozai and had joined a pro-Ozai underground society after he was defeated. Satoru couldn't stand it anymore and ran away, living on the streets of Ba Sing Se's lower ring. When his uncle heard what had happened, he found Satoru, took him in, and gave him a job. I admire him so much. He doesn't care about politics. But now I realize that's only because he cares about money, he sighs. Realizing he was too afraid to be thrown out to see his uncle for what he truly was. Satoru smiles at her, telling her that he wishes that he was brave like her for standing up to her father. As if on cue, they hear a cough next to them, and Satoru looks up to see Lao. Excuse me a moment, Satoru, Lao asks. As Toph continues to strain, Lao stands in front of her, and he finally gives her the apology that he should have given her years ago. Her mother blamed him for her leaving. After she was gone, he came to the refinery to escape from his old life. In case these are our final moments, Toph, I need you to know, not a day has gone by that I have not thought of you, he tells her with tears in his eyes. I love you, my daughter. I'm sorry for everything. There's a pause as Toph turns her head away from her father before turning back. That's your problem, Dad. If you knew me, the real me, you wouldn't be wondering if we're gonna live or die, she tells her father, setting her shoulders and lifting the earth around them a few more inches, steadying it. Because you know, I can keep this up as long as I need to. I'm Toph Beifong, the greatest earthbender of all time, she gasps. Above them, Aang shouts for the others as the metal-bending students arrive. He fills them in quickly on the situation. Though they are nervous at first, Katara yells Toph's instructions from beneath them. Finally, the students drop into their stances, preparing to bend the iron beneath them. The three of them work together, pulling large chunks of iron from beneath the earth. Suddenly, the dirt moves beneath them, revealing a large iron mask bearing its fangs at them. At first, the students are frightened, pulling back and making the ground above Toph shift. But Aang believes in them, telling them that they are literally the best metal benders outside of Toph. No one can do this but you, he yells at Hotun. The students return to their tasks, finally yelling at Aang that they need his help moving the last of the dirt as they near Toph and the others. Finally, they pull the last of the iron away, shifting the dirt and revealing the chamber below. Toph suddenly relaxes, throwing a thumbs up to her students. Not bad, she gasps at them before passing out into her father's arms. And everyone comes rushing out of the hole. Anybody hurt? I've got plenty of bandages and splints, Jingbo yells, running over. Katara runs into Aang's arms and they kiss. I know, but these oogies are well-deserved, Sokka tells Momo. The students rush over to make sure that Toph is okay, with Lau introducing himself to them. Sifu Toph has a dad? Penga asks, shocked. What did you think? She just popped out of a rock? Hotun asks. It'd make sense, wouldn't it? She tells him. As everyone begins to gather, getting their injuries checked out, Loban looks around, shocked at all the iron that litters the ground around him.
I thought it'd take months to dig that iron out of the ground, but now it's here, all around us. I'm surrounded by a fortune. He smiles. He yells for some of the rough rhinos nearby, telling them to get their Komodo rhinos so that they can haul the iron down to his ship so that he can bring it back to the Fire Nation. If I process it there, that coward Lau won't have any claim on the profits. I believe my partnership with the Earth Kingdom is at an end, he says to himself.
Suddenly, the winds begin to pick up around them, and Katara remarks that she thinks a storm is coming in. I don't think that's just any storm, Aang tells her. He looks on, seeing the spirit of Avatar Yangchen standing nearby. But once more, he can't hear the words coming out of her mouth. He rushes over to the air acolytes, telling them that he needs to finish the ceremonial feast. Jingbo nods, but holds up the ceremonial vase that was destroyed in the earthquake. Aang thinks back on what Avatar Yangchen had said to him during their last meeting, thinking that there might be a way to re-establish his connection with his past selves. Anything I can do to help? Katara asks him, but Aang shakes his head. No, I got this. I just need to find someplace quiet and a good-sized rock, he tells her. Aang finds a quiet place, sitting down to meditate as he finds a decent rock. He uses his earthbending to quickly sculpt it, and now it resembles the medallion that once linked him to Master Roku. He attaches it to his beads and closes his eyes. Aang, Master Roku greets him with a smile. Aang is happy with his past self, but sadness overtakes him as he begins to explain his actions. But Roku merely opens his arms, gesturing for the young Avatar to come to him, and they hug. I'm sorry, Master Roku. I missed you so much, Aang tells him. But Master Roku continues to smile, telling the young boy that his past lives can only offer advice based on their own experiences. It is up to him to find the balance between the past and the future. Remember this as you search for a solution to your current dilemma, he says, gesturing to the rest of the past avatars lined up behind him. Aang passes them, greeting each as he sees them, until he finally comes to Avatar Yangchen, and she smiles at him. I need to know the terms of your agreement with General Old Iron. Finish your story, please, he asks her. She nods, explaining that General Old Iron promised to never take up his armor against mankind. In exchange, she built a memorial for Lady Tienhai and promised that the land would return to its natural state, free of human civilization. Once a year, she would lead the air nomads to this location to let the rest of the world know that it was sacred to them. After her death, this became known as Yangchen's festival. Aang nods, realizing that the iron they found in the earth was part of General Old Iron's armor. Yangchen nods, telling Aang that her promise to the spirit has been broken. What if we put things back the way they were? What if we bury the armor and return this place to its natural state? Wouldn't that unbreak your broken promise to General Old Iron? He asks. Yangchen nods, telling the young Avatar to go and help his friends. As Aang comes out of his meditation, he leaps up into the air. The storm has become stronger, and in the distance, he can see a great spirit coming out of the ocean. Aang lands back amongst his friends, and he quickly explains that the iron is the armor of a great spirit, and it needs to go back into the earth, and that they need to return the land to how it was.
But doesn't that mean you have to destroy the refinery and the entire town? Sokka asks. Aang nods, asking Katara to get all of the workers clear, and then looks towards the metal benders to help him, but is surprised to find that the giant mask has disappeared. And suddenly, Satoru comes rolling up on a forklift. I saw my uncle and a couple of rough rhinos dragging the mask down to the beach, he shouts. Aang tells him that he needs to get it back. I'm on it, Satoru shouts, and Sokka gets on board the forklift. Me too, he shouts as they ride off. Can I drive? Sokka asks. No, Satoru tells him sharply. Down on the beach, the rhinos are trying to load the mask as the storm lashes around them. Suddenly, a boomerang comes flying out, snapping the ropes tied to the great hunk of iron. The Avatar needs you to return that mask, Sokka tells them. Uncle, your greed almost got us killed in that mine. Haven't you learned your lesson? Satoru asks. But his uncle glares at him, telling him that he had planned for Satoru to be his successor, but now he realizes the young man doesn't have what it takes. Rough rhinos, take care of those two, Luen orders his men. Katara returns to Aang, telling him that the town is empty, and the Avatar turns, looking out on the ocean and seeing General Old Iron growing closer. Do you see him? Aang asks. I do, Katara tells him. She understands what Aang has to do, kissing him on the cheek and telling him that he better hurry. I hate destroying things, Aang sighs sadly. As everyone moves away, Aang enters the Avatar state, leaping into the air and controlling all of the elements. But one of the workers overheard what the Avatar was planning and rushed over to tell Lao, warning him that the Avatar was going to destroy the town. Lao is shocked, looking up at the Avatar swirling above them. Dad, what's going on? Toph asks, struggling to sit up. Lao turns, beginning to tell his exhausted daughter what is happening, but stops himself. It's nothing for you to worry about, my daughter. Rest. What matters is that you're safe, he tells her. But she sits up angry, telling him that she doesn't need to be protected. She needs to know what's going on. And he nods. One of my employees just informed me that the Avatar is about to destroy the refinery, he tells her. He explains that he doesn't know why, but losing the refinery would ruin him. He sighs, telling her that they wanted to do something new, a joint project between the two nations. It's a symbol that can only exist in a world of peace, he sighs. He bows before his daughter. So please, Toph Beifong, you're the greatest earthbender of all time. Help me, he asks. Toph smiles, energy flooding through her body as she gets off the bed. Come on, you lily livers, let's help the man out, she tells her students. Over the refinery, Aang launches 3 massive fireballs towards the main building, but the fire impacts a wall of earth that rises up from the benders. Toph, what are you guys doing? Aang asks, coming out of the Avatar state. What's it look like we're doing? We're stopping you, she shouts up at her friend. Back on the beach, Sokka blocks another arrow from the rough rhino archer. He turns to Satoru, throwing him his battle club. What am I supposed to do with this? I'm an engineer. I don't know how to fight, Satoru says as he begins to run from the other rough rhino. Look, I fight people more powerful than me all the time. If you can't beat them, outthink them, he shouts, dodging another arrow. He throws his boomerang, smashing the archer's bow. Hello, Mr. Rough Rhino Archer Guy. Here's my guess. You got super good at the bow and arrow because you're not so great at hand-to-hand combat, Sokka says, squaring off against the bowless bowman. That's not true. I trained for years, the archer shouts, throwing a punch that Sokka easily blocks. With a quick twist, he spins and throws the archer to his feet. Satoru leads the other rough rhino back to the forklift. He smashes the engine, letting the steam shoot out and hit the man in the face. Sokka comes over, smiling at Satoru, outthinking their attackers. You think your advice applies to things even bigger than the rough rhinos? Satoru asks with a look of fear on his face. How big? Sokka asks as he begins to turn around. That big? Satoru whispers, pointing to General Old Iron as he comes out of the ocean. Luen continues to struggle to pull the mask down the beach towards his boat, But suddenly, it begins to glow and float up into the sky. He stares up in shock at the giant spirit standing over him, but he refuses to let go of the rope. Satoru rushes over, jumping and holding on to his uncle, begging for him to let go of the rope. Sokka jumps up, grabbing onto the big man as well, and all together they begin to lift higher and higher into the air as Satoru continues to yell for his uncle to let go. "No, don't let go! Whatever you do, don't let go!" Sokka shouts as he looks at the ground far below them. The mask locks into place on General Old Iron's face as the three humans dangle below his mouth. Back at the refinery, Aang is trying to explain to Toph and her students the situation, but finally just gives up. "Toph, there's just no time to explain. You gotta trust me, okay? I gotta make this place look the way it used to," he shouts at her. "Why? So you and your acolytes can have your little picnics here and act like it's the olden times again?" she asks him. Aang tries to explain that he needs to prove to the spirits that humans can preserve things. "By destroying everything those people built?" she shouts. She yells at Aang that the refinery is the future and she won't let him destroy the future. "Toph, please, you gotta get out of the way," Aang yells at her. But Toph and her students drop into a battle stance. "Make us," she shouts at him. Aang throws a blast of wind at each of them, knocking the three of the students off their platform. But Toph is prepared, blocking the blast with a wall of earth. She begins to throw blocks of earth at Aang, hurling them forward with powerful punches. Aang dodges, but eventually one hits him and he falls to the earth. Irritated, he blows the last rock apart with a vicious punch. "Get ready, Team Beifong, let's metal bend!" Toph shouts, taking up a position with her students. Aang dodges their metal attacks, trying to explain to Toph that if there were any other way, he would be doing it. But the students interrupt him. "Is that the giant ancient spirit you were talking about?" Pengu asks, pointing over their shoulders. In the distance, General Old Iron begins to walk through the town. The iron around them begins to lift up, encasing the massive spirit in a dark armor. Meanwhile, Katara gasps as she looks up at the great spirit and sees her brother hanging from its mouth. "Sokka, hang on!" she shouts. "Like I have a choice!" Sokka yells back. Katara creates a water slide out of the rain and positions it beneath them. "I've got you guys, now let go!" she yells to them. Both Sokka and Satoru shout for Lobon to let go of the rope, but the man is too afraid. "I can't!" he shouts in fear. "Yes, you can! Just breathe out slowly and let go," Satoru tells his uncle calmly. The three of them fall, caught in Katara's water spout. They float to the ground below. "You know, I don't think I like water slides any better than I like dirt slides," Sokka tells his sister as he coughs up water. Meanwhile, Aang floats up to General Old Iron's face. "General Old Iron, I am the Avatar," he begins to shout. But the spirit interrupts him.
"I know who you are. I was once taken in by the chittering of one of your predecessors. No more. I've come to do what I should have done long ago. Wipe your kind from existence," the spirit shouts, bringing his fist down and smashing the buildings below. Katara blocks his second blow with more water bending. Before Old Iron can attack again, he is hit from behind by a massive dirt fist that Aang has created. Aang floats atop an earthen body that rivals Old Iron in size, and the two great behemoths begin to trade blows back and forth. From afar, the metalbenders look on. "Hop to it, Team Beifong! The Avatar needs our help!" Toph yells, beginning to run towards the fight. "Hey, weren't we just trying to fight him off a second ago?" Penga asks. The metalbenders drop into their stances as Toph directs them. Using their bending, they begin to peel the iron armor off of General Old Iron's body. "It's working! Keep it up!" Toph yells to her students. Aang looks down at his friend as she begins to shout at him. "Aang, you got a clear shot now! Right in his chest! Go back into the Avatar state and give him everything you've got!" she shouts.
But Aang shakes his head, afraid that Old Iron won't be able to withstand the attack if he doesn't have his armor. Are you out of your gourd, Twinkle Toes? He's about to crush you! Do it! Do it now! She shouts. But Old Iron has discovered the metal benders, demanding to know how they have learned such power and dare use it against him. He begins to reach out for them, and Toph turns back to her students. Hotun, Penga, the Dark One, I'll hold him off, you guys run! She yells. But the students stand their ground. We're not leaving you, Sifu Toph! Penga yells. The bitter grip of death is still sweeter than disloyalty, the Dark One confirms. But Aang flies in front of the spirit, trying to reason with him. General Old Iron rears back, ready to smash the metal benders. No! Stay away from my friends! Aang shouts, dropping to the Avatar's state, and he launches an attack with all of the elements, smashing General Old Iron in the chest. And the spirit falls, a gaping hole in his chest. Aang lands near the spirit's head. Oh no! I didn't mean to! He begins. Too late for my kind. Long ago, I was much more peaceful than you humans. Now look at me. Look at you, he tells them. General Old Iron begins to stand, moving back towards the ocean. He tells the Avatar that he was right all those years ago. There is no place for the spirits in this world anymore. Aang flies next to Old Iron, telling him that he is the bridge between the spirits and the humans. You repeat those words over and over like it's a mantra, but you are fooling only yourself. Whenever the border between our two worlds grows to a rift, the Avatar will always side with the humans. The Avatar is, after all, a human, Old Iron says, stepping into the swelling ocean. He knows that humans' true nature is to dominate. He turns back, bowing to Aang. I pay homage to you, young human, for you have vanquished me, he says. General Old Iron begins to glow. He transforms into several spirit creatures who disappear beneath the waves. Aang stands on the beach, looking out into the calm ocean, sadness on his face. Behind him, Toph comes up. She knows that it wasn't easy for him to attack the spirit, but thanks him for saving her and her students. She reaches out and they embrace. As they hug, the sun begins to peek over the horizon, and at the refinery, Lao stands before his workers. He knows that they have been through a lot, but wishes for them to stay with him, to help rebuild that which they had created. After all, the refinery is the future. Let's build the future together. He shouts as the workers clap and cheer him on. He steps off the stage, taking his daughter's hand. Not bad. Not as good as the speeches I give at the school, of course, but not bad, she tells him with a smile. Back in the camp, Katara catches up with her friends, learning of all that has happened with their tribe since she left. She apologizes and promises to return soon, but her friends smile, telling her that they had no right to be angry earlier. You and Sokka, you make us Southern Water Tribers proud. Later, Aang and Katara return to the site of Lady Tienhai's statue, which now lays in ruins on the ground. How awful! What happened? Katara questions, but Aang shakes his head. All those earthquakes, maybe? I'm not sure, he tells her. Aang is sad, believing that maybe General Old Iron was right, and that humans and spirits might not be able to coexist. But Katara doesn't believe that. She believes in the Avatar, and she tells him that he should talk to his past lives, see if they have any ideas. Aang nods, sitting down to meditate as Katara leaves. Find me if you need me, sweetie, she tells him. Aang holds his beads, but before he can close his eyes, he is interrupted by a squawking. I know, you poor cranefish don't have a statue to perch on anymore, he tells the bird that has drawn near. More of the birds appear, and they begin to squawk and glow as they encircle Aang. You aren't just normal birds, are you? Aang suddenly realizes. The birds begin to glow and fuse, and suddenly, Lady Tienhai is standing over Aang. She smiles at him. telling him that she was once the caretaker of this coastline. The seashore was beautiful, but also stagnant, characterless, and unchanging. That is, until a small group of humans built a magnificent city here, she tells him. She explains that after General Old Iron left her, she began a new tradition. Once a year, she would take the form of a human and stroll through the city's streets, marveling at everything the humans had created. One night, she met a human that she fell in love with, and she decided to make her human form permanent. They were eventually married, and her sweet prince became the king. But eventually, as with all humans, she died, and her king blamed himself. "But you didn't die. You're right here," Aang tells her. "Yes, my king was brilliant, but he was wrong. Spirits don't die. We simply take a new form," she explains. General Old Iron was wrong as well. It is not human nature to dominate, but to create, she tells him. She begins to shimmer again, taking the form of the cranefish once again. She tells Aang that while humans falter from time to time, she knows that they can learn from their mistakes. "I believe that ultimately, you will create a civilization that preserves and protects while it grows." The birds begin to leap into the air as Lady Tienhai explains that the spirits will always have a place in this world, as long as the humans make one for them. "But how can you be so sure we'll do that? How can you know?" Aang asks the birds as they fly away. And as the last bird leaves, Aang can hear Lady Tienhai's final words. "I don't know, young Avatar. I hope," she says. 3 months later, a new tradition has begun. The parade moves through the streets of the town, led by the air acolytes and the metalbenders. Toph reaches out, punching Satoru in the arm. "What was that for?" he shouts. "The refinery's been open for almost 2 weeks, and you haven't invited me back yet. Weren't we supposed to be in some kind of partnership?" she shouts at him. "Well, I was kind of expecting you to just waltz back in whenever you felt like it," Satoru tells her as Toph sits next to him. "What? My father raised me to be better than that," she tells him with a smile. Katara looks around at the new tradition, shocked that Aang is okay with the loud parade, and Sokka selling meat on a stick. Aang agrees that it's not the same tradition. "We're calling it the Spirits Friendship Festival." He smiles as he looks around at everyone having fun. Same tradition, only in a new form.
And that was the full story for Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Rift, by Luen Yang. What did you think about today's full story? Let me know in the comments down below. And like and subscribe to help out the channel. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.